Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the poor man's webcast, I guess. To
He's
the
Shane, and I'm Lex.
PDQ. What was it? It was pretty damn quarantined. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Well
that's
done there,
it.
Kelly. All right. Well, we're going to be talking about the database today. Your database is both for both deploy and inventory. Is that right, Lex?
Absolutely.
All right. Lex, why don't you go ahead and start us off, young man?
Wow.
I can say that you are in fact younger than I am.
By what, a couple months?
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll take it.
All right. So, part of making sure that your PDQ is running like solid, quick, efficient is kind of maintaining your database, right? So, we're just going to jump in and kind of explain a little bit about what gets stored, what can be purged, when it gets purged, how to actually make sure that the database is efficiently cleaned up. So,
okay.
And for a lot of you, it's probably a refresher. Yeah, Shane.
Well, I'd say, first of all, the database is largely out of sight, out of mind, right?
Absolutely.
But and as well it should be. However, let's set some of those best practices to make it so that you don't have to think about it, because we don't want you to go, hey, this is taking a long time. What's going on? Why is this taking so long? So what if we show them, first of all, where the database is?
Absolutely. That totally makes sense.
That's totally
so
makes
if you go
sense.
to options, preferences,
and database.
Oh, check it out, database. There it is. Now our database happens to be 7 meg. It's kind of nice. You get to see the size of it there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll close that first of all. Yeah, this is the basic. Yeah, basic. Now, if you need to open up, it is a SQLite database. If you need to actually run a SQLite command natively, you can click on the SQLite console, and that just literally opens up SQLite for you. Recommend that you do that only really as directed by support, if needs be.
Yeah, let's just throw a caveat in really quick. Hey, if you're going to do anything with your database, guys, even clean it up, it's a good idea to back it up. Yeah.
I'll show them how to do that.
Check it out. This button right here, guys, I'm circling it with my mouse. If I hit backup now, database is backing up. Now you'll notice here's our backup location. Guinness happens to be on the machine that the database exists on, which is probably not a best practice because machine goes belly up, so does all the backups. So you might want to put that on a good UNC path on a file share. Absolutely.
And it's set. We've got it set to enable automatic backups, and you can modify this. We can, we keep 10 backups, and we back up, every week on Saturday. But I also see optimized database. What is that, Lex?
Well, optimized database, that's basically I think it runs a SQLite vacuum, doesn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it's pretty much it.
Which is
the optimized is really just a vacuum. It cleans up data that's been marked for deletion, and then it also helps to prevent fragmentation.
Okay, so again, to put that in a little better, or an additional context, here's the thing, right? When I delete records, the data may be gone, but that space is still reserved in the database. Yeah. Am I saying that right, Shane? And so what that vacuum does, it gets rid of the last of that. So,
yeah.
And so I'm going to do two things really quick here. Shane, I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to show you what happens if I happen to kick that off in the middle of a scan. Okay. So here's the thing, right? I'm going to go here, right click. We're going to run a scan. Nice, long, standard scan. Boom, there it goes. Okay, so now at this point, if I hit optimize database, it's going to come up and say, hey, it's going to shut down the background service. I'm going to go okay. And there it is. It shut down the background service. It shut down inventory. And guess what it did to every single one of those scans?
It's aborting them.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a, let me get that in the center. Oop, or just,
basically, whenever you want to optimize, just remember, whether you're talking about deployments or scans, it's going to stop whatever action is being performed or actions. So,
right, hit enter to close, and then it should restart inventory. There it goes. So interestingly enough, like Shane mentioned, if you were to do that same thing, if I had deployments running in deploy, it would abort the deployments. So that being the issue, it's and we're back. Here's our preferences that I moved. And Shane,
look
can
at
you
all
move
those.
those?
Look at all those aborted scans. There we go.
Every last one of them.
Welcome to it.
So
I'm just going to hurry and change this. I'm going to scan just for applications, just so I can get that out of the way.
Does that bug you? Does that really bug you, man? Seeing aborted scans? I'm just wondering, because I'm gonna do that every time now. Every time I know you're jumping on.
Especially in mass. I mean, seeing one or two is kind of annoying, but seeing it all over the place, clear that out. Yeah, if you do that, I'm just going to hide that column. I'm telling you right now. I'm just going to cut you off at the pass. Yeah, I'm just going to cut you off at the pass. All right, so that's optimized. Also, optimized database, every time you upgrade, deploy an inventory, whatever, obviously respective, we're going to optimize the database as part of that upgrade. That's just free at no extra charge. If you have like Lex mentioned, this is a pretty small database. If you have a smaller database, it's not a huge issue. For those of you that have databases that get into the hundreds of megabytes, and we've even seen some, of course, in the gigabytes, yeah, that's where you want to start taking some care. Maybe do a little bit more optimization. Also, if you're in inventory, right there, I'm going to go over to scanning. You see the auto cleanup? Honestly, 14. I think 14 is the default. You can even cut that down if you are having database issues. If your database is really, really large, definitely cut this down. There's really no reason why you want to have a lot of history about how often computers were scanned. That makes a lot more sense in deployments, and we'll cover that in a second. But I'm just going to cover this. I'm just going to go up to 3.
Shane, so we actually record every time there's a scan out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you open up a computer, if you go to a computer and go down to just in the computer window and go to scans, you'll see all those, right?
Ah, okay.
So, here we're just saying let's delete those, and you'll start to see that those older scans outside of 3 days will slowly start getting deleted.
So I'm gonna do a shout out to Mr. Corgi Chris, right? Let's talk about maths at this point. So if I've got 100 machines, keeping scans for 14 days is a lot different than if I've got 8,600 machines keeping scans for 14 days.
That's right.
Especially if I'm scanning a lot. You'll see how maths everywhere. That's one of my favorite videos that Chris sends out is the maths.
He loves that one. So anyway, honestly, when it comes to scans, I mean, think about it. Now, for deployment, hey, I understand that. In fact, there's a lot of we have customers that actually have a corporate policy that they have to keep up to a year worth of all deployment histories. That's fine. It's in the same area. It's in your preferences. Go to deployments instead of scanning, and delete finished deployments after 30 days. Like I say, you can hit 0 to keep them all. If you don't have to, don't do that. But I can understand keeping a deployment history far more than scans. So just save that.
Let me ask you a question, Shane. You can go see deployment history in the inventory. Now, does this just clean deploy, or does it clean deploy and inventory in regards to deployment history?
When you're talking about deploy and you remove.
Can I drive?
If you remove from deploy, it does not remove those. I don't believe it removes from inventory.
Okay.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
Because I could be wrong. I'd like to know that, actually.
I didn't think it did either, but I was just kind of wondering.
Because there's a separate table now in inventory for those deployments. It doesn't reference that. Only to write it. But that'd be good to know.
Interesting. Maybe Colby can find out.
Yeah, if somebody knows, actually, that'd be great. That would be fantastic. What were you going to show? Were you going to show something else, Lex?
Well, I was just. I'd love to do a question, and then I'll show you inventory stuff. Yeah.
First one, yeah. Dear Shane and Lex, if the actions are stopped, will they be restarted or do they need to be manually kicked off again? Thanks, Gabriel B.
That's okay. No, if they are stopped, in other words, like
you saw those aborted scans, yeah.
No, they won't. They will not be started up again automatically as part of restarting this. So you will need to start those up. Now, I do take issue with your word manually, because if there's a schedule that's going to kick off that action again, maybe you've got a scheduled deployment that runs every night. Then the next night or whenever that schedule runs again, it will kick off. So the meat of your question though, and the answer is no. Just because when we abort something as part of an optimize, we do not assume that that's going to be picked up again.
So Shane, now here's my follow-up for that. So if the scans got aborted and it's been more than 7 days since a scan, on the next heartbeat, is it going to get a scan, or is it one of those it'll wait another 7 days because it started a scan?
Okay, that's a good. So let's go back over. Let's close this. I think what you're talking about. I'm going to go over here to inventory. All right, there is a difference. I'm going to come back over to options. There is a difference between auto cleanup, and then you're talking about profiles.
Yeah.
Scan. I'm going to go to scan profiles, where we've got, like in this one, the standard. I'm going to double click on standard. We have a trigger that says when the scan age is 7 days old. Completely different. You can say delete all old scans after 1 day. That's not going to make a difference here. That's stored in a completely separate part of the database. We still will know. We tag that. Oh yeah, this computer hasn't had this scan profile. When you have this trigger, that's completely separate from the history. So, good question, actually.
Thanks, man.
Well done.
Well, you're surprised I could ask a good question?
No, not at all. Yeah, sure.
Gentlemen, is that the right one, JJ? Okay. Will scanning hundreds of registry values for 200-ish PCs hurt performance? Sincerely, Mr. Fusion.
Shane, I'm going to start this one and let you finish it. So here's the thing. When you go in, and I'm going to drive real quick, if that's okay. Let us go to scan profiles. I'm just going to build a new scan profile just to show this. Okay, if we're going to add a registry scanner, right? And I go in here and I just say, give me anything that looks for the word Lex in it. Okay, that is going to scan the entire. Now, depending on how you set your scan up is going to be the first thing that you need to concern yourself with, because this is going to scan the whole registry. And if you've ever accidentally hit find and just let it run amok, it takes forever. Okay. So in this place, the further down the path you're going to go, the faster it's going to run, right? So if you know the location,
the more specific you can be, yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Shane, from there.
But let's so I believe the question was, if you grab hundreds, if you take hundreds of machines and you get hundreds of rows of data per machine, you're probably going to be fine. A lot of it does come down to, I should say this, on your database, the best thing you can do for your database is to have it run on a solid state drive. Honestly,
absolutely,
the single best. Next is memory. You want to have a lot of memory available, but solid state drive is probably the best thing you can do. Anyway, with that said, follow what Lex said. If you notice, we have, if you look at this registry scanner, we have a row limit of 2,500. That's a default. You can modify that. We're basically saying, in this particular scanner, we're going to stop it at 2,500 per computer. That's per computer. We have seen, or at least I have seen, one customer that pretty much made their database unusable because they tried to scan the entire registry or the entire HQ local machine on like 8,000 computers. It made it unusable. So anyway, yeah, hundreds. To do hundreds, you're probably fine. But it really does come down to, if you do notice problems with your database, make sure it's on a solid state drive if you can do that. Also, make sure you have a lot of memory. And then, as Lex said, be as specific as you can. when you're talking about not only registry scanners, but also when we're talking about WMI and soon to be coming PowerShell.
The thing about it is that the scan may not, if you search the entire registry, it may not slow your database down. The scan's going to take forever. So
you can do both. Yeah, the scan will take a while. The scan will take a while if you're scanning the entire registry. But we actually have it normalized quite, as far as the registry scanners. We have some pretty good normalization there. I'm using normalization in the database DBA context for those 3 DBAs that are watching.
All 3 of them. Hey, I've got some information in regards to optimizing databases. I was actually working with a customer yesterday. Okay. They've got 8,600 machines. Okay. By the way, 2,500 of those they just spun up on AWS, got them all set up in less than 2 weeks using us, PDQ Deploy and Inventory. So, anywho, we went through his database. This was actually yesterday. I'm like, how many machines you guys have? 8,600. I'm like, all right, how big's your database? He's like, well, it's something over 2 gig. I'm like, have you run an optimization? And he's like, no. I'm like, anything running right now? He's like, nah, nothing's running. I'm like, let's do it. And he's like, is anything going to happen? I'm like, well, let's back it up first, which we did, right? Ran the optimization. Surprising, it was pretty clean. It didn't shrink it much. But the nice thing is I've done this on a customer who had over 15,000 machines, and that actually compressed it, and it did run faster. And just because of all the residual space it got rid of. So that does make a difference. In this case, I found out he had just set up his database recently. So there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that had been deleted. So
yeah, sure, go for it.
Hey, Shane and Lex, how big is too big of a database? What goes into the database to create size? Thanks, Danny G.
Mostly we're talking about inventory. It'd take a lot to get. There really isn't a hard limit. Honestly, if you have the right hardware, several gig. Once you start getting to several gig, I would really start making sure you're using best practices, removing unnecessary history, etc. But I don't have a solid answer for you. What about you, Lex?
My thought is this, right? I mean, if you're doing a lot of onesie, twosie deployments or a lot of deployments, obviously, let's say you've got, the difference between 100 machines and 5,000 machines recording a line for every deployment, you're obviously going to see that grow significantly. And that's going to grow in your inventory. It's going to grow in your deploy. The more machines you have, the more often I would optimize your database, the smaller I would save. How much data is being saved? So like, that purge is like only save 3 days worth of scans, only save, 30 days or 15 days worth of deployments. That's where you're going to see things start to run better because you're cleaning it. But again, you also got to get that optimization running in there to clean out that space in your database.
If it's getting to the point where it is getting where your database is very slow, just kind of crawling along, at that point I would, and let's say that you are cutting back on your scan history and even your deploy history, I would start to look at what you're scanning. Maybe you've got a couple of scheduled registry or WMI scanners that are just loading your database unnecessarily. When you delete, let's come over here, just so you know, when you delete, oops, I meant to go to scan profiles, sorry. Going back to scan profiles, you create, see these, let's see, we've got registry run keys. I'm just gonna run these. When you have, I'm gonna edit this real quick. When you collect, you have in this case, a bunch of registry scanners. Here we've got a lot of registry scanners in one scan profile. When we delete this scan profile, all the data that scan profile, in this case in the registry, had collected, is going to be removed from all of those computers, unless another scan profile happens to grab the same information. And so if you find that, oh wow, I forgot I had this old scan profile that was collecting all this garbage that I no longer need. When you delete that, that's going to start the process of deleting all of that data from all the computers. And then the next time you run an optimize, it's going to clean that up.
Look, I can do a real quick example, really quick.
Go for it.
All right. So again, I do this, occasionally. Here's a new scan profile. I'm just going to call it GPO because I know this one well. I'm going to do a WMI scanner. I'm going to show you what happens when you delete these before you run an optimization, right? Applied GPO. Launch this guy. This is going to be super quick. If you guys need this GPO stuff, you can get it. There's a video on how to do it. A couple of double clicks, grab the GPO.
Yeah, you have done this before.
Yeah. So, and the thing about it is, if I copy that entire line, not just most of it, Control C, put it back here. I love how fast this runs, right? And then we'll run it and delete it, right? So,
all right. Before you delete it, though, I want you to go to a computer so you can see where that data. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
And the nice thing, I actually typed that on purpose. Not really, guys. It's not case sensitive. So, all right, there's our scanner. We give it an OK. Close it out. This runs super fast. Normally, I run this before I run, see how fast they run before I kick them off. But boom, the only real overhead here is the connection and returning the data because it's like that kind of fast.
Okay.
So returning data already. I'm going to jump into Beth, right? So we can go see that data. Here's where it exists, right? Down here, WMI scanner. There it is. Apply GPO. There it is. Now, interestingly enough, you can make, I'm just going to show this. I'm not going to actually save this. But if I go down here and I look to make a dynamic collection report of that, there it is. Okay, it's right there. Now, am I okay to delete this at this point? Because it looks like it's pretty much done scanning except for Rip Van Winkle and Squanchy.
Yeah.
So if I go here and I go to the scan profiles and delete that guy, now if I had anything built off it, it'd give me a warning. It's like, hey, you've got stuff built off this, but I don't. So I'm going to delete it, right? It's gone. Now I go back to make a new dynamic let's just go pull the Beth again. Go see if that data exists.
It doesn't exist.
It's gone. It's been deleted. However, if I go here before that optimization runs, check this out.
You'll still see that.
There it is. See that?
Little error, a little warning.
Little warning. Oh, the data's not there anymore. It doesn't exist. Now, the nice thing is that database optimization is going to take care of that and get rid of it for you.
Mm-hmm. But I have seen a few times. So it's if you ever see your database starting to get too big, honestly, do a little inventory and see and see if you've got some scanners or scan profiles that maybe you just needed one time for a particular project, and you could save all that data by just deleting it. So,
hey, can I show you some command line on this one, Shane?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, right? Again, talking with the customers, like, how often do you run this? He's like, I've never run it. And I'm like, it's clicking a button. He's like, I like automation. I'm like, let me show you how to automate that, right? Okay. So if we do two things. One, bring up a command prompt. I'm going to run this as administrator because, gots to have, and you put in PDQ inventory and hit that. It's going to come up. Here's all the possibilities and check that out right there. Optimized database.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could actually run that from here. What's the chance I can actually type this correct the first time?
Well
Rare.
Done.
So it's going to reclaim the space, right? So the command line's doing it right now. Okay. This is what's happened in the background. You'll actually see it come up here. There should be there it is, server disconnected warning, which is normal. I'm just going to let this sit until it's done running. And then we should be able to go back here to dynamic collection. And that table that was built is still there. So
are you sure it's still running?
It's probably.
I also think you need to close the console.
Nope, close the console and reopen it. Okay.
When the optimize from the command line, it doesn't close the console. And the console, that was probably loaded in the memory. Otherwise, we find a bug.
Okay, what do you think? It's going to open up? I bet it's gone.
Yeah,
in fact, I know it's gone, dude.
Yeah, you know it, huh?
I'm gambling the rest of my bottle of Jack Daniels that is gone. Should we find out? Taking that bet? All right.
I'm not going to take the bet.
It's gone.
Yeah, so just have to close that.
Yep.
Well done. Do we have any other questions? No, don't go for it. I don't care.
One last thing on that, right? So this is what I did. I built a really cool batch file.
Mm-hmm.
And then I scheduled it. I task scheduled it. Basically, I just called both of these with an optimized database. And then I went to Windows Task Scheduler. Task Scheduler. And I had that set up to run. If you open this guy up, webcast stuff right there, once a month on the first Sunday of the month. Okay, that being said, remember guys, anything running deployments, scans, when this kicks off, it's going to abort. I tested it. It does abort them. So,
and once again, every time you upgrade PDQ inventory or deploy, it will optimize that database.
Absolutely.
No, go for it. I don't know. Just to make sure, I just touched on this really fast, and that is when you go back to preferences and database, if you want to actually see this database file, just click that. It opens up program data where it is by default, and there's your database.db. That is your database. The backups, those are all your backups from all the previous versions of deploy or inventory, depending on what you're looking at. Okay, let's go do a speed round.
And our first question on the speed round, if we find that we misconfigured a scan, gathering far more info, reg file, system, etc., is there a way to purge all of that scan data across your PDQ enterprise? Thanks, Gabriel B.
Yes, just delete that scanner / or scan profile.
And then run the optimization and it'll disappear out. All the remnants will be cleaned up.
Well, it'll get deleted. But even if you don't run optimize, the optimize will defragment and reclaim that old space, but it will get deleted right away.
It was speedy.
We have another question.
Yeah,
a speed round of one question.
One question, All right, next question. Dear Shane and Lex, if I edit a scan, does it remove stuff from the database? Sincerely, DH.
Okay, so Shane, let's say we did that. Okay, I wrote a Microsoft looking for license keys, right? And the original one was huge, right? And it got all kinds of data. If I went in and edited it for less data, would it clean out the residual crap that was in there earlier from the earlier adjustment?
I can't remember. It's been too long. I can't remember. I'd like let's go to a lifeline if Colby or somebody out there knows that.
We got stumped.
Yeah, I need to take a drink, but I didn't pour scotch. You know what? I'm trying to. I don't know. If anybody out there knows that or can hurry and test that, it'd be easy enough to test. I'd rather not do it on live while everyone else is waiting, but it'd be easy enough to test.
I could do that GPO scan and then cut it down to just the name.
I would look at a registry as opposed to WMI first.
Would you?
I think unless they're talking about WMI. Anyway, let's go to the
Either
next
way,
question.
wouldn't it be the difference? The same.
The answer is I don't know, but that would be easy enough for you to test without killing yourself. I mean, just do it data that you don't care about, and then unless you guys want us to do it here, I don't care.
You want me to do it live? I could do it.
I got it all day.
Let's do it. Here goes. Okay, scan profile. Boom. We're going to do that GPO scan again, just because I don't know what to look for in the registry, right? GPO. I'm going to grab the whole table, and then we'll cut it down to just the name of the GPO. Applied GPO. I know it's RSOP computer. Oh. There we go. Computer. And yeah, there it is. My typing skills are going to come into play here.
So you are doing WMI then? Okay.
Yeah, well, just because it's easier. I mean, this should be very similar, shouldn't it? Nope, that's not it. WMI.
No, WMI is keep going. WMI is handled completely different than
okay.
registry.
It may be, but check this out though, right? Because we're gonna truncate the data down, right?
Okay.
I'm grabbing the whole table, right?
Then are you gonna throw like a where clause in there or something?
And then I'm gonna just no, I'm just gonna take the name after we run this once. So boom, it runs. Let's see who's done first, and then I'll go Bueller.
Great,
there it is.
Great podcast.
Okay, here we go. Boom.
Great.
Gotta love this. Okay, so look at all that information, man. Enabled something, a bunch of crap I don't care about, right? And all I really want is the name. Okay, so now I'm gonna go edit that.
Lex doesn't know how to read.
Shut up.
Yeah, see,
it's true.
You are going to change. You're going to change this. I'm going to say when you add that where clause, it is going to delete the rest. I was thinking about a registry.
Okay, but
go ahead. Add that where clause, baby.
I'm not even going to add a where clause. All I'm going to put is the name.
Oh, you're just going to do a select name.
Yep. Okay, now it should give it an okay. Close it up. We'll run that scanner once again.
Always be careful whenever you run a WMI while you're doing this. Whenever you have a WMI scanner, if you change the columns, in this case, he just said only report back name instead of star. When you do that, it can break, collection or definitely reports.
Definitely,
it can break stuff. So just be careful.
Well, how about that? So it did truncate the amount of data it was storing. It's just got our name now.
Yeah, I mean, it's that other data is always it's always going to be collected. We have to know the scan profile, et cetera. But yep, there you go.
All right.
The interesting thing would be the registry. I'm going to say yes, but anyway, next question.
Dear Shane and Lex, I'm having issues with false heartbeats. Would running the optimized database help with that? Sincerely, James. Don't call me Jimmy. L.
No, we do store the heartbeat. We do store the heartbeat in the database. There's a view called computer heartbeat, but I mean, I could go in there and clear out or set everything to offline in the computer heartbeat, and it would show in the console as offline, but it's not going to really fix. Read the question again, because
I'm confused.
Read the question again.
False heartbeat.
Okay, the question was, I'm having issues with false heartbeats. Would running the optimized database help with that?
No. False heartbeats are most likely going to be something to do with DNS. In other words, or a timeout. If something is online but it's reporting as offline, the heartbeat times out after 1,000 milliseconds. So you get 1 second. And if your latency is slow enough, then you're going to show as offline. If you're showing something that's online that's really offline, look at your DNS.
Cool. Next question. To save inventory performance, is it possible to disable or remove dynamic collections from the collection library? Thanks.
Whoa. I'm thinking, why?
You can hide them. So that's a good question. So you can hide them. They're always going to be there, and they have the collections in the collection library have the lowest priority as far as getting populated. Of the standard collections the collections that you build always get a higher priority as far as population. We're still talking about nanoseconds here, but you can hide out of sight, out of mind, but that doesn't actually delete the data.
So I right clicked on it, went to view. I'm now hiding Edge for business. It's hidden, but yeah.
It's out of sight, out of mind, but no, it's keep in mind though, what's really going to take a lot of space are those custom scanners.
Yeah.
That's what's going to take a lot of space. Those registry, WMI, and soon to come PowerShell. Next question.
Next question. Is there any way to log the queries that are hitting the SQLite database? Sincerely, Steve-O.
I don't know. There's honestly not a lot of
trigger type stuff.
There's not a lot of utilities out there for SQLite because it is such a slim, fast. It's not really a relational database, but I don't know. That'd be a question for DBA. I maybe if Stephanie happens to be watching, she might know, or anybody else that might know. I mean, I'll tell you right now, all the queries that PDQ inventory itself just internally is doing all the time. If you tried to log all of those, you would be very expensive because that's all it's doing is reading and writing.
Yeah.
All right. Our final question of the day. Is it one database for PDQ Deploy and one database for inventory, which I have to keep clean then? Sincerely, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Yes, they each have their own database, respective databases. However, the one that really tends to give people problems is the inventory. That's where most of your data is stored. So it's inventory that you really want to make sure you take care of. Once again, if you can, make sure they're on a solid state drive. Make sure you have a lot of memory. But it's, deploys take a lot. It would take a lot of history. I actually did see one person that had a huge deploy database, and that's because they had a schedule that kicked off like every minute, and they'd been running this forever. Yeah, every minute to a few thousand computers. It was some little internal polling thing that they had done just to verify that the computer was there. It was internal to them, but their history was in the tens of millions. It was huge, but it's inventory that you really have to watch out for. We don't have a camera 2. Everybody look up. Hey, how's it going?
JJ, I did camera 2 earlier, and that thing I thought it was pointed at my keyboard. It was basically pointed at my shoes. It was bad.
Yeah,
it was
shoes
bad,
is a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care of your databases. Look through. Make sure you don't have unnecessary old scanners running that you only needed once, et cetera, et cetera. There's ways to make it
regularly, guys.
Optimize it.
Yeah.
All right. You guys, thanks for bearing with us on this pretty damned quarantined webcast, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, I'm Lex.
I'm Shane.
We're PDQ.com.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, James L. and Gabriel B., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you back here next week.